Today on The Update, Lydia Hassan pays Ayahuasca shooting victims hospital bills. Commission of Inquiry set to investigate Ayahuasca West Wogan by-election violence. EC Roper Committee meets media. Journey to Under-20 World Cup gets shaky. Tensions between Turkey and Greece rises. Grateful for your time today. This is the news on DGN with me, Lady Polos, and you're watching The Update. In a related development, newly elected Member of Parliament for Ayahuasca West Wogan, Lydia Hassan, has visited victims of the shooting incident that marred the by-election that brought her to office. The shooting incident occurred on Thursday, January 31, 2019, at La Baweshi in the Ayahuasca West constituency. After her swearing in on Tuesday in Parliament, which was boycotted by Minority National Democratic Congress (NDC), Madame Hassan has used her first working day as an MP on Wednesday to visit the victims who are on admission at the 37 military hospital. Police report following the shooting incident disclosed that 6 persons sustained gunshot wounds. The MP, who replaces her late husband Emmanuel Cherimanting Ajako, during the visit donated 5,000 Ghana cedis to cover the medical bills of the victims, unlike the minority who bluntly claimed the victims were their members. Madame Hassan condemned the decision of the minority to describe her as a bloody widow as they boycotted her swearing. She described the minority's actions as regrettable and despicable. Meanwhile, the NDC minority is also facing sharp condemnations from a cross-section of Ghanaians for describing Madame Hassan as a bloody widow. Former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings, in a statement, says the minority's walkout was shameful and a misuse of acceptable parliamentary norms. The National Women's Organizer of the New Patriotic Party (NPP), Kate Jamfoy, says it is unacceptable and disrespectful for the minority MPs to call the new Member of Parliament a bloody widow. In wake of this, First Deputy Speaker, who sat in for main Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Kwei, ruled that their behavior towards the widow was an affront to the dignity of the House, and thus asked the leadership of the minority to apologize to the newly elected MP. Unfortunately, the NDC MP for Tamale North rudely interrupted the Speaker, yelling that it would be over their dead bodies to apologize. This consequently agitated the Speaker to send the Tamale North MP, Alhassan Soyini, out of the House. Now, exactly a week ago, violence broke at the Ayahuasca West Wogan by-election, causing severe injuries and loss of properties. Following this, the government has set up a commission of inquiry into the unfortunate events. Justice Emil Short, chairman of the commission, has been tasked, among other things, to make a full, faithful, and impartial inquiry into the circumstances of and establish the facts leading to the events and associated violence of the by-election. The Director of Communications at the Presidency, Eugene Ahin, in a statement signed and issued Wednesday, February 6, said the Commission has also been tasked to identify any person responsible for or who was involved in the events, associated violence and injuries. The Commission is also required to inquire into any matter which it considers incidental or reasonably related to the causes of the events and associated violence and injuries. The President, Nana Addo, is looking forward to receiving the report of the Commission within 1 month. The report, again, the statement said, should contain the findings of the Commission, recommendations, as well as include appropriate sanctions, if any. Other members of the Commission are Mr. Ernest Kofi Abochi, former Dean of Faculty of Law of GIMPA, Secretary Mrs. Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, and Mr. Patrick K. Achampong. The New Patriotic Party (NPP) has reaffirmed its commitment to implementing the controversial Representation of the People Amendment Act (ROPA). General Secretary of the NPP John Boyedu told journalists on Wednesday, February 6 in Accra that the ruling party has the political will to implement ROPA but has been facing difficulties in doing so since 2006 due to the opposition from the National Democratic Congress (NDC). Speaking on the sidelines of a consultative meeting with the media organized by the ROPA Implementation Committee under the Electoral Commission (EC), Mr. Boyedu recounted the numerous demonstrations organized by the NDC in 2006 when the ROPA law was passed. In 2011, some Ghanaians in the diaspora filed a suit against the EC at an Accra High Court for delaying the implementation of ROPA. He disclosed that the implementation of ROPA, which was introduced during the erstwhile Kufuor administration, was paramount. That, Mr. Boadu said, was because the MPP government believes that Ghanaians abroad are critical when it comes to the administration of the Ghanaian economy. Mr. Boadu, however, warned that in implementing ROPA, care must be taken in order not to violate the country's laws or adopt stringent measures that would make it difficult for Ghanaians in the diaspora to vote. According to Mr. Boadu, since Dr. Benjamin Kumbwa, a former defense minister representing the NDC, is a member of the implementation committee, there was hope truthful discussions would be held to find ways of implementing the law. Dr. Kumbwa, who chaired the engagement with the media, said the committee shall hold extensive consultative meetings with the various stakeholders across the country. The consultative meeting with the media was aimed at getting the inputs of journalists into the document for the implementation of ROPA. The committee, he said, is made up of 9 members, including representatives of MPP, NDC, and 7 other parties, as well as civil society groups. We take a quick breather, don't go anywhere.
I got some money.
There is nothing as hard as a diamond. For buildings with superior strength that withstand all weather conditions, Diamond Cement should be your preferred choice. Locate Diamond Cement nationwide with factories in Aflao, Takrady and Bupe. Diamond Cement, as hard as a diamond.
Thanks for staying. Now onto some sports and international stories. Ghana's hopes of booking a place at the 2019 FIFA Under-20 World Cup suffered a disappointment on Wednesday following a 2-0 defeat to Senegal in their second group game at the ongoing Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations in Niger. Youssef Mamadou double at the Maradi Stadium denied the Black Satellites a ticket for the global showpiece to hold in May-June, at least temporarily. A second straight victory after defeating Burkina Faso 2-0 on matchday 1 would have guaranteed Ghana a spot at the World Cup. The result has left Satellite second on Group B's table, requiring at least a draw against third-place Mali in the final match on Saturday to make it to Poland. Senegal, however, have secured their place at the World Gathering, having picked maximum points from their 2 games thus far. Over the past 2 years, Greece has registered a record number of violations from territorial to airspace by Turkey in the Aegean. In fact, in a space of a month, Turkish jets have violated Greek airspace more than 30 times. And most recently, in potentially another series of a cat-and-mouse game, Turkey chose the day of the Greek Prime Minister's visit to the country to place a $6.1 million bounty on the capture of 8 Turkish armed officers seeking asylum in Greece. Just days earlier, the National Security Council in Ankara issued a demand for their extradition, despite Greece's Supreme Court forbidding it on humanitarian grounds. Turkey in this has accused the men of helping to plot a failed coup in July 2016 against President Recep Tayyip Erdogan before commandeering a helicopter to fly to Greece. On the international stage, the Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras is seen to have walked into a trap when he went to Ankara. The Greek Shadow Foreign Minister Yorgos Komatsakos added that this visit is poorly prepared by the Greek side and augurs ill for Greek interests and Greek-Turkish relations. Turkey has been increasingly upfront about its rhetoric, and the conservative New Democracy Party candidate for Athens, Syrigos, believes that the result is that the 2 countries are in a state of constant confrontation. Nothing has happened to make us believe in a breakthrough. Even up until now, President Erdogan's visit to Athens in 2017 still remains to be a watershed moment in Greek-Turkish relations. At first, it was considered to be a breakthrough as the first visit to Greece by a Turkish head of state in 65 years. but it resulted in some very unpleasant surprises. In addition to their hot and cold relationship comes the Turkish president's push to amend the Peace Lausanne Treaty of 1923, one in which Greece is not willing to budge on. The treaty not only delineated the Turkish state, it also normalized Greek-Turkish relations after a century of war. The call to revisit it suggested a Turkish desire for broader revisionism of the Greek-Turkish status quo. And also in that treaty, Turkey also formally accepted the loss of Cyprus. The relationship between Greece and Turkey has not been easy, constantly butting heads. They were very close to military conflict over the Greek islet Emia in 1996, before the United States had to step in to avert a disaster. Despite both countries' need to re-establish a bilateral forum to discuss differences, there are low expectations, with the recent issue adding to their growing list of disputes. So that's just about it for today's update, but do well to visit our website at dailyguidenetwork.com for more news, or follow us on social media via Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Daily Guide Network for more stories in and around the world. And while you're online, you can get interactive with me at Lady Pulos on Instagram. The update was brought to you by Diamond Cement, powered by Press Express, and supported by Casa Clothing. This has been Lady Pulos. Thanks for watching.